I never imagined I'd be the one to send a neighbor to jail over a homeowner's dispute. But when it comes to my dog, Max, all bets are off. I've lived in Oakwood Heights for about 3 years. It's a picturesque community, neat lawns, summer barbecues, friendly smiles, and one of the strictest HOAs in the entire county. At the center of it all is Patricia Wilkins, though everyone calls her Karen when she's not around. From the moment I moved in, she made it her personal mission to welcome me by pointing out every violation she could dream up. "Your garbage can is visible from the street," she'd announce, flashing that practiced plastic smile. "Your holiday lights were up 3 days past the deadline," she'd remind me, clipboard in hand. And my favorite, "The shade of beige you painted your fence is Newport sand, not coastal dune as required by Section 4, Paragraph 6 of the HOA bylaws," she declared while standing uninvited in my yard, measuring tape in hand like she was inspecting a crime scene. I work from home as a software engineer, so I've perfected the professional smile and nod routine while silently rolling my eyes. I've always believed in picking my battles, so I usually made her requested corrections and moved on. That worked until she decided to target Max. Max is my 3-year-old German Shepherd. Sharp, loyal, and the best decision I made after my divorce. I adopted him from a shelter, and since then, he's been my family. He's well-trained, social, and only protective when necessary. I even had a 6-foot privacy fence professionally installed so he could enjoy the backyard safely while I worked. The HOA approved it before I spent a cent. It was a Tuesday in June when everything went sideways. I was in the middle of a video conference when I noticed Karen S. shadow pass by my office window. Not unusual. She prowled the neighborhood daily, tape measure in hand, hunting for violations. Then Max started barking. Not his delivery driver bark, his something's wrong bark. I muted the call and bolted for the back door. The gate was wide open. Max was gone. Panic hit me like a punch. I sprinted into the street, shouting his name, heart pounding. Luckily, he hadn't gone far, just circling near the driveway, confused but safe. I got him inside, secured the gate, and tried to steady my shaking hands. My mind ran through every horrible possibility. He could have been hit by a car, gotten lost, or scared someone into thinking he was dangerous. Once I calmed down, I pulled up the security footage. I'd installed cameras months earlier after Karen accidentally trimmed my oak tree, claiming it hung over community property. The footage left no doubt. Karen had marched straight to my gate, unlatched it, swung it open wide, and walked away, smirking. Her floral capris and highlighted bob were impossible to miss. I was furious. This wasn't an HOA nitpick. It was reckless and cruel. Instead of confronting her, which would have only led to her playing the victim, I called the non-emergency police line. The responding officer was polite but skeptical, until I showed him the video. His expression changed immediately. "Sir, this is serious," he said, brows furrowing. "We're looking at criminal trespass, animal endangerment, possibly even attempted theft. Would you like to press charges?" I hesitated for only a moment. I'd never pressed charges before, but letting this go could mean she'd do something worse next time. "Yes," I said firmly. "I'd like to press charges." He copied the footage to a USB drive and took my statement. I expected a long process, maybe weeks before anything happened. I was wrong. The very next morning, I was sipping coffee when shouting outside drew my attention. I looked through the blinds and froze. 2 police officers were escorting Karen toward a cruiser, in handcuffs. She was dressed in her navy blue power suit, likely on her way to her real estate office, and absolutely livid. Neighbors gathered on their lawns, staring in disbelief. "This is outrageous," she screamed. "I'm the HOA president. I was performing an inspection. That dog is dangerous." The officers remained calm as they guided her into the back seat and closed the door, cutting off her protests. I didn't feel satisfaction, just relief. Relief that maybe, for once, she'd face consequences. Max sat by my side at the window, wagging his tail, blissfully unaware of the chaos he'd just survived. Later that day, the police called to confirm it. Patricia Wilkins had been formally charged with criminal trespassing. Karen, or rather Patricia Wilkins, as the court documents referred to her, was officially charged with criminal trespass, property damage, and animal endangerment. She'd been released on bail, but her court date was already set for the following week. According to the officer who called with the update, she was maintaining her innocence, claiming she had merely been performing her duties as HOA president and that my gate was defective. Naturally, the story spread through Oakwood Heights faster than wildfire. By that evening, my phone buzzed nonstop with texts from neighbors, some I barely knew, offering support and sharing their own Karen encounters. Turns out, I wasn't the only one she harassed under the banner of HOA compliance. The following Monday, I received a certified letter from the HOA board. For a second, I half expected to be cited for causing a neighborhood disturbance. But instead, the letter surprised me. An emergency board meeting had been called. Patricia had been temporarily suspended from her role as HOA president pending the outcome of her court case. The letter went on to state that her recent actions were unauthorized, taken without board approval, and outside the scope of her authority. It was signed by the vice president, who apologized on behalf of the board and assured me that the matter was being taken seriously. There was also a note at the bottom. A special election would soon be held to fill the presidency, permanently. When the court date arrived, I took the day off work to attend. I wanted to see it through, not out of vengeance, but for closure. The courtroom was packed. I recognized several of my neighbors along with a few of Patricia's colleagues from her real estate office. Patricia looked put together as ever in a tailored navy suit, though the confidence she wore around the neighborhood seemed to have drained from her posture. Her lawyer, an expensive-looking man with too much gel in his hair, argued passionately that Patricia had been performing her official duties, that there had been multiple complaints about my dog, there hadn't, and that she found my gate already open when she arrived. He tried to cast her as a dedicated community servant being punished for doing her job. Then the prosecution played the footage. The courtroom fell silent. Every second of it, the deliberate unlatching of the gate, the smug glance over her shoulder, played in high definition. The judge, a sharp-eyed older woman with an air of authority that made even the lawyers sit straighter, watched the video twice before speaking. "Mrs. Wilkins," she began, her tone clipped, "the evidence clearly contradicts your testimony. You willfully trespassed on private property and knowingly created a dangerous situation, both for the animal and the public. For someone in a position of community authority, your behavior is especially troubling." Patricia's face went pale. The courtroom remained silent as the judge continued outlining the severity of her actions. By the end, the verdict was clear: guilty on all charges. Her sentence was measured but firm: a $2,000 fine, 100 hours of community service, 1 year of probation, and a restraining order preventing her from coming within 50 feet of my property. As we left the courtroom, I overheard a hushed but tense exchange near the hallway. Patricia A.S. Boss, the owner of her real estate agency, was speaking to her in a low, furious tone. "This is all over the local news, Patricia," he said sharply. "We can't have a senior agent convicted of property crimes. The optics are terrible. We'll need to discuss your position." Her perfectly composed expression cracked. "This isn't over," she hissed, clutching her handbag. "That man and his beast of a dog don't belong in our neighborhood." Her boss just sighed, shaking his head. "That attitude is exactly why you're in this mess. Check your email. HR will be in touch." Outside, I reached my car just as my phone buzzed again. A text from the HOA vice president. The board held an emergency vote. Patricia Wilkins has been permanently removed from the HOA by unanimous decision. 3 years of her self-appointed reign had finally ended. When I looked up from my phone, I saw her standing frozen on the courthouse steps, staring down at her own screen. For a brief moment, our eyes met. The disbelief, humiliation, and fury written across her face said everything. The Queen of Oakwood Heights had fallen, and for once, justice had actually come home to the neighborhood.